Today is Sunday, February 21st, 2021. We're going to talk about MKG Enterprises Business Trust, for Black History Month. This is something, very important. These are the things that we don't learn in school. We don't sit down and talk to our kids at the table with, but it's about, asset privacy and anonymity, private and very powerful. MKG Enterprises Business Trust is located in Fresno, California, and is part of the real estate business trust sector industry. I myself started this company about a year and a half ago. Did a lot of research, into, trusts and, the reasons why I formed it. It's a Massachusetts business trust, MBT. It is the only one of its kind here in Fresno, California, owned by myself. I'm a, Black African American individual, and, like I said, MKG Enterprises Business Trust is also registered with the United States Security and Exchange Commission, CIK number, which is 000-178-0151. So, today, we can recognize that February is Black History Month, but the black and white, economic divide, is as wide as it was in 1968. And now we are in the 21st century in 2021. In many ways, America remains two societies, one black and one white, as measured by key demographic indicators of social and economic well-being. At the same time, it is important to note that on some measures, gaps across racial and ethnic groups have diminished. In 1968, the Fair Housing Act was passed, making it illegal for anyone to discriminate against when renting or buying a home, especially to blacks and African Americans. Prior to the passing of the civil rights legislations, black families were locked out of the opportunity to create generational wealth by purchasing a home and passing it down to their kids. Because of redlining, blacks were denied mortgage loans and access to certain neighborhoods because of their skin color. For every $100 in white family wealth, black families hold just $5.04. Now, this show here is for the intelligent black people that can understand why real estate builds wealth more consistently than other asset classes. One, it's for cash flow, and for two, it's for appreciation. Here is what you eliminate with a business trust: Secretary of State registrations, filing fees, franchise taxes, registered resident agents, and public visibility. Yet, it is recognized in all states as a valid legal form of business organizations with the rights to do business, hold and convey real estate, contracts with others, and enforce rights in court. The benefits for investors, especially black investors. A business trust combines the best feature of a corporation, an LLC, and partnership all in one. Yet it is less hassle, no Secretary of State registrations, no fees, no franchise taxes, no registered agents, and no state permissions. It can operate in California or any of 49 states nationwide, and your business trust is completely anonymous to outsiders. Many successful business owners are looking for a fresh alternative to government sponsorships. It's exactly what happened to us. After years of operating corporations and LLCs, we found the business trust solutions. It relieved us of many hassles to organize a low-profile investment management company, yet saves us time and money too. The low-profile privacy, unlike a registered corporation, LLCs, partnerships, or statutory trusts, your business is totally off the public radar screen. we have no Secretary of State filing requirements except for annual filing requirements. We don't have to appear in any public online database, which means business assets, bank accounts, names, addresses, and owners are invisible to outsiders and unlisted organizations. Now, why is this important? Well, as I mentioned above, blacks have been systematically shut out from owning housing, real estate, and things of any assets, since 1967. So if you're black and you're investing into real estate, and you already know that based off the color of your skin, you're going to be discriminated when you go and apply or, show your face that you're the owner or you're going to be investing into a property, then your chances are already going to be denied from the gate. So being anonymous and pulling your money together as, as unit, or I would say, as individual, as a collective individual, group economics is powerful. Yet alone, we have worldwide acceptance as a business trust. You can read the European or the Asian Wall Street Journal or Thomson Reuters or FT, Financial Times, and in the news, you will see that a business trust used extensively in Singapore, the United Kingdom, Australia, South Africa, India, and are often registered public investment companies that apply a different purpose to their mission. However, the fundamentals that trustees, shareholders, architects is essentially identical to those who prefer a privacy purpose. Now, a business trust is recognized as wholly valid and a legal form of business organizations with the right to do business, hold and convey real estate, make contracts, and enforce its rights in court. Now, being that it's Black History Month, we are already at an economic disadvantage, having $5.04 to every $100 in white wealth. This is a game changer for blacks here in Fresno that have been deprived and systematically shut out from owning real estate. And sometimes, you have to sit back and wonder, if you're renting, the cost of rent is going up dramatically now. It's cheaper to own than it is to rent, let alone to buy land banking, investing into real estate, especially in these communities that are disinvested, Southwest Fresno specifically. Coming in as a community and buying up the real estate, and then the owners, or at least the shareholders, would own the real estate, and then you're able to, distribute the cash flow, amongst yourselves, but let's analyze personal versus commercial trust. Living trusts are designed for estate planning. They fit within the category of a personal trust whose purpose is to convey and distribute wealth. A business trust is designed for doing business. They fit within the category of a commercial trust whose purpose is to operate a for-profit business. But let's go and let's get into the history, the United States history. Long ago, the Massachusetts Bay Colony Corporation was afforded a government monopoly, political cronies only. A law was passed that prevented other corporations from holding property and engaging in business. Without liability protection of a corporation, investors were unwilling to risk debtors, prison, and their wealth on a single venture. So the business trusts originated in England several centuries ago. They were called unincorporated joint stock companies in the late 1680s. Subsequently, American investors imported this concept for business operations because of limited liability and protection from investors, known as entity shielding. We see the state of Massachusetts as the foundation for business trusts in the United States. Originally, it was used by electric railway operations as well as gas utility companies. The United States Supreme Judicial Court in 1890 recognized the business trust as a legal entity. Now, everyone heard of Rockefeller. The Rockefellers infamous Standard Oil was a maze of business trusts. His vertical integration was savvy, but it became later problematic. So the name Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890 is misleading. More accurately, it should read Anti-Competition Act because it attacked monopolies, cartels, and trusts. Later on, the Clayton Antitrust Act of 1914 is also a misleading term. It sought to prevent anti-competitive practices such as price fixing. In both cases, the underlying issue was not the business organization itself, it was the owner's behavior. But let's go back and look at the behavior of redlining and how it has systematically affected, blacks from owning real estate and then being able to pass that down to generations. However, since 1940 in the United States, mutual funds such as Vanguard is one of the biggest, what you would call a broker dealer that holds all the retirement plans in the United States. But Vanguard, a household name, organized as a business trust. Their industry holds trillions of dollars of assets. Trillions. Rockefeller, infamous Standard Oil, was a maze of a business trust, which is now Chevron. In the 1960s, real estate investment trusts, REITs, became popular and remain so today. You can find Walmart business trusts in the news too. So you see, it's no secret, folks, that what I've discovered here in Fresno, group economics, is bringing blacks to the table, to have a seat at the table, to get in on this real estate and having some kind of economic resources. In America, many professionals, including most lawyers, have little experience or understanding of commercial business trusts. And I can bear witness to that. I went into the bank after I formed my business trust and I handed over our declarations of trust. They had no idea what I had. They were scared to death that this black man walked into this bank, had a legitimate business that they did not understand. Why? Because only the Walmarts, Vanguards, Rockefellers understood this and these names. They hold this in secrecy. So here's a black man trying to be Walmart, Rockefeller, or Vanguard here in Fresno, and they're pretty much scared. Why? Because they know what the power is of a business trust. So they denied me from opening up a business account. So I have to go out of state to Massachusetts or to another state out of California that recognize a business trust as a citizen. But back to what I was saying, none of the leading case books on business organizations or associations covers a business trust. Law school's curriculums is focused entirely on personal trust and estates for wealth transfer. There are few references to a trust structure for operating a business. None of them advocate strategies for asset privacy. So this is going back to ancient Africa, in Egypt with the pyramids, with the pharaohs, and the hieroglyphics and the Hebrew writings. They try to understand who built the pyramids. Where did they get their advanced knowledge from? A business trust is knowledge and power. It's what some of the wealthiest corporations and businesses and families have monopolized on here in America, but blacks are unaware of this. But however, it's right here under your nose in Fresno that there is a black-owned business trust that is trying to gain blacks' trust. But however, we have to think outside of ourselves. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than us. This is a community here that we're trying to empower. than going and buy, like I said, investing into these other businesses. Invest into a black business trust. I've done the research. I've done the studies. Like I said, this is information that is going to be hidden. It's not taught in school. It's not in your case books. But back to the subject about the business trust for asset privacy, where, you don't want to be known of who you are. We don't want to know what our powers are or our numbers are. We want to keep those numbers in private. We don't want grandma name to be, disclosed that grandma put in, 5,000, 10,000. Grandma's owning a block down the street. Grandpa owning a block down the street. Or your grandchildren, your grandson, your nephew, your uncle, your brother, your sister is owning a block. We want to keep that private and keep that anonymity. So property is conveyed to the trustees to be held, managed, or invested for the benefit of one or more beneficiaries. These beneficiaries often hold freely and transferable shares unless restricted by the trust declaration. Our business trust has 125 million transferable shares that black people can own and empower themselves. Often, these trusts are organized using Massachusetts laws because they have extensive case history. But I want to point out one important thing. A business trust is a citizen of every state in which its shareholders reside. Let me repeat that again. A business trust is a citizen of every state in which its shareholders reside. And we can go and research Navajo Savings versus Lee, number 79-465, the United States Supreme Court, 1980. So why is it when I walk into a bank as a black man and I'm unable to open up a business account, whether it be Wells Fargo, whether it be Chase, whether it be Citibank, none of them would recognize a business trust is a citizen of every state in which its shareholders reside. So that has to have you wondering. Nothing has changed since 1967 because they don't want us to own wealth, have any kind of economic power or collective or group economics. So pay attention and listen closely, because this is history that I'm talking about. So like the other kind of trust described, that we'll go over and describe, a business trust have a long history in our litigations and open internet society. They are becoming an increasingly popular way for successful investors to operate with superior privacy. Let's talk about taxes, because this is tax time. For tax purposes, for the federal and state authorities, they retain the power to tax the income of any business that we choose or any state that is domiciled in. However, a business trust has flexibility in how it's classified and where. Business trust has no special distinctions in the Internal Revenue Code. Just like an LLC, you're taxed as an individual, partnership, or corporation. But with a business trust, you get a K-1 and you also file a 1041, which is basically you're a shareholder and is taxed as an individual. The standard corporation is a subchapter C, and you may optionally elect an S corporation as needed. But since 2017 tax law, many investors preferred the 21% corporate tax rate. And look what Donald Trump did back in, 2020, 2019. the tax cut, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the Trump tax cuts. It's ideal. The C corporation is ideal for investors seeking fringe benefits and long-term capital gains. The S corporation is for those seeking maximum cash flow. Double taxation chatter can be misleading. It really depends upon your objectives of capital gains or income, plus the various types of deductions. If you're applying for a loan with an S corporation, underwriters are going to request both your personal and your corporate tax return. And if you're a subchapter C, they're only going to want your personal return. The business trust structure is not a statutory entity in California. It is exempt from paying the $800 franchise tax to the Franchise Tax Board, but you can research this information on the federal tax classification. Go to the Treasury Regulations, Section 301-7701-4B for more information. However, when properly executed, a business trust, if all else fails and they have to file bankruptcy in federal court or either Chapter 7 or 11, but it's more economical and it's cheaper to operate. So we've established our business trust here in Fresno, which is less costly and easier than a corporation or LLC. Over the years, it requires far less paperwork, zero state fees, and fewer legal requirements. It gives us a greater flexibility and offers an excellent tax option for investors, especially Black people wanting to invest and have some ownership in real estate. Corporations, partnerships, and LLCs are paperwork intensive and can take weeks to fully set up. Naming conflicts occur. With these organization models, people incur ongoing fees filing and disclosures with the Secretary of State in whatever state you do business in. Over 10 years, these mandatory obligations can cost a business $15,000 in expenses, plus add in the value of your personal time to maintaining this kind of organization. But yet, a business trust avoids all of these state regulatory hassles and expenses, and it gets privacy along with the money and time savings. It's a triple combination. But let's talk about the corporate veil risk. In exchange for compliance with state rules and regulations of the corporation and LLC model, companies are granted certain statutory protections should it fail to follow any of the many government requirements. The so-called corporate veil, you're going to get pierced. It's like a poke. It's like a needle. It's like a scalpel. That's going to just cut right through that. The liability, the protection for the entity is pierced. This can render partners, directors, and stockholders unprotected and personal liable for debts of the organization. More painful is a tax audit. If during the audit and the IRS or the state tax authorities request records and discover that the business failed to maintain the veil, they can disallow all the business deductions and recast income to personal tax rates. Years back to inception. Man, this can be devastating. Insurance claims can be subject to denial if a corporation or LLC fails to respect the veil. Imagine settling a big lawsuit out of our own pockets. But a business trust has no corporate veil or paperwork requirement for the state, yet the participants, the trustees, and the beneficiaries possess a great many benefit and safety protection, and it remains a prudent business practice to keep basic records according to the original trust agreement. There's no registered agents. Many states require corporations and LLCs to maintain a resident agent for legal services. The agent resides in the state where the company is chartered and is required by law to accept legal papers served upon the corporation or LLC. And remember, lawyers like the resident agent requirement because it makes it easy for them to sue corporations and LLCs. But a business trust, they do not have a registered agent. They do not have most of them have address requirements. Attorneys eager to sue a private business trust, they got an uphill battle to climb, which is a benefit for blacks to become an investor and invest through a business trust. They got to they must locate the identity of the trustee. But there's a lot of states that are out here in the United States. So it's difficult and expensive and time consuming. It's never our job to make it easy for our enemies to find us based on our color of our skin and redlining. Limited liability. Let's talk about limited liability. You get 3 types of limited liability and safety. This includes protection from the company itself, the persons who operate the business, the trustees, and those that get the financial benefit, which is the shareholders. So this is an opportunity for blacks to become shareholders. In the conventional corporation structure, the stockholders are the de facto legal owners of assets. Let's repeat that one more time. In a conventional corporation structure, like an LLC or INC, the stockholders are the de facto legal owners of assets. The officers are agents of the stockholders. This can cause liability, although a stockholder of Google is unlikely to have problems in a small corporation. They are at greater risk because of state compliance issues. In a business trust, the trustees are the legal owners of assets. They are not agents of the shareholders, yet they do have a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders. So let me repeat that again. The trustees have a fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders, provided that the trustees manage the business without interference from the shareholders. Liability is little to none. This single fact alone should be important to many, many people, especially blacks, that are always consciously aware and consciously wonder, or at least I would say worried about their money, because we don't have a lot of money. So we can't really put our money at risk. But investing, as a disclaimer from this whole show, involves risk. Everything we do involves risk these days. Nothing is risk-free. There's no guarantees. There's no certainties in life. There's only 2 things that is promised: death and taxes. However, personal creditors, civil judgments, or tax liens of a trustee or beneficiary never attach to a business trust assets. Corporate stockholders as owners can sue the officers or directors for performance issues. Trust shareholders are not owners and cannot sue the trustee for performance issues without risking their safety. If they do, it could cause the trust to be recast as a partnership. This might be problematic. It also serves as like a checks and balance, and it prevents hostile takeovers. Because as we know, a lot of people are hard to get along with. There's a lot of chiefs and not enough Indians. And sometimes, we have to put our own personal interests aside and look at what's the benefit of the community and building communities. But it also let's talk about greater financial flexibility. We need greater financial flexibility in the Black community. In the corporate structure, the company may only pay dividends to a stockholder. With the business trust, the trustees distribute the dividends and returns of capital, profits, and if there is none, then there's nothing to distribute. This offers a greater flexibility for cash management. And then if it's for dissolution, a business trust is easy to dissolve or terminate. In contrast, a LLC requires another public filing document with the Secretary of State. The business trust simply liquidates the assets. But let's go even a step further. So what we ask is people invest into a self-directed IRA. Then they invest into the business trust. That way, your money that is invested into an IRA is FDIC insured. You're able to log in. You're able to see, how your assets or how your investment is performing. You also get an investing guide. So we walk you along and we give you the tools, the resources, and the education to invest into a business trust. As an investor, any business organization can have investors. Corporations have stockholders. LLCs have members. Business trust has shareholders. Remember, a statutory trust and corporation are both artificial persons created by government's permissions. But a non-statutory business trust, it's a natural person with all the rights of an individual. So depending upon the type of business you invest in or you operate, you may need a local business license. But a business trust is a citizen of every state in which its shareholders reside. I'm going to say that one more time again until it rings home. A business trust is a citizen of every state in which its shareholders reside. Navarro Savings versus Lee. United States Supreme Court, 1980. So I think I dropped enough knowledge and enough information to wake up anybody that was minds that was asleep and might not be woke. But if you're interested in learning more about MKG Enterprises Business Trust, I implore you to visit our website at mkgenterprisesbusinesstrust.us. And I want to share with you our website. It's here about our homepage where you can go and learn about our opportunity zone investment strategy. The tax benefits of opportunity zones. You can defer your gains invested in opportunity zones. The exclusions, 10% or 15% of the gain, it reinvests in opportunity zones. The setup and basis of the investment in opportunity zones, the fair market value. But the Opportunity Zone Fund, we operate as an Opportunity Zone Fund, which is a public benefit. Opportunity zones are tools for economic development. They are a means to attract new capital to be deployed in communities. They allow investors to defer, to reduce, or eliminate taxes on their unrealized capital gains. An investor can invest in opportunity zones with a strict focus to adhering to low income requirements defined by the Internal Revenue Code IRC Section 45DE. You could take the next steps and just combine your IRA tax advantage with opportunity zones. Just go down to the bottom. Your IRA can be an active investor in non-traditional investments while keeping its tax benefits. This account is allowed to invest in a multitude of alternative investment opportunities, generate tax advantage earnings from real estate investing. In fact, almost any investment strategy that you prefer can be utilized within your IRA. So all you got to do is click on this link right here, and it will take you to the page to open up an IRA. There is a $30 application fee, but once again, $30 to be able to invest into a business trust. But for those of you who are watching, thank you for taking the time. to listen to Fresno Capital Formation, Venture Capitalist Syndication Show. If you'd like to learn more about investing into a business trust, visit us online at MKG Enterprises Business Trust.us, or you can call us at 866-675-3933. And if you like this show, give us a thumbs up. We'll continue to broadcast more about Black investing, financial education, and capital formation.